Okay, this is part B. Get my camera situated here so we get it just right. Sorry about that. Okay, this is part B of the video lecture on our special topic of social media. Now we get into an area that is somewhat more dangerous and definitely more controversial. And this is a college course, so I'm approaching this from a very mature standpoint, and I trust that I can do that because you guys are mature high school / college students. So we will approach this topic as it is important for our discussion here. Some general facts about American youth and internet pornography. This is something else that's getting a lot of attention in the social sciences right now. The ease of access to internet pornography, and regardless of your opinion, whether you think it's a problem for society or it's not a problem for society, the age of access, I think we all mostly can agree that it can be a problem or is a problem. It's easy, and I would always ask in class, I would ask if you've ever accidentally stumbled upon an inappropriate website. I think everybody in my life that I know who works on a computer for a living or who does anything on a computer has probably accidentally stumbled upon a site that you wouldn't want to be at. So if I can do that, or if you can do that, imagine a child in grade school or middle school who's trying to do a homework assignment or doing something benign or innocent, stumbling upon a website and then not having really anybody to talk about to try to process it. Well, it can lead to some problems. And sometimes young children and adolescents certainly access these sites purposely, which opens up some other questions that we can deal with in a psychology class or in psychology. Of students ages 13 and 14 in the U.S. and Canada, 90% of males and 70% of females say they have purposely accessed sexually explicit media at least one time on the internet. Those are pretty high numbers. And everybody seems to think that it's always boys and not girls purposely accessing these sites. And that may not always be the case. Generally, it is accepted that more boys than girls do purposely access these sites. But of all the avenues, DVD, cable TV, internet, etc., most children viewing pornography are viewing it on the internet. So that's the viewing avenue of choice. Pornography has become a major presence in the lives of youth. Studies show that 1 out of 3 young boys in Canada and the U.S. are, by definition of this from this study, heavy pornographic users, which can be troubling and begs a lot of questions as well. So is this a problem? Again, you may be surprised to find that some social scientists and some people argue that it is not a big deal, that children have been trying to sneak around and find pornographic pictures in magazines or in other places since the beginning of pornographic pictures. Now it's just they're doing it on the computer instead of trying to find these pictures in magazines. Others would argue that no, it is a problem because it's easier to access this stuff online than it would be to try to find a publication with photos actually in that. So some more numbers here. 42% of internet users aged 10 to 17 said they had either purposely or intentionally viewed online pornographic materials. So now we're changing the age group a little bit, 10 to 17. More than 1/3 of boys aged 16 to 17 say they have purposely visited an X-rated pornographic site, while only 8% of girls in this age group said that they had intentionally done so. 99% of teenagers and 99% of high school students, that's virtually everyone, say they have accidentally stumbled onto pornographic websites. So it is easy to do that. Worldwide, the largest age group viewing pornographic materials are 15 to 19-year-old teenagers. So we're kind of right again in your wheelhouse for age for you guys watching this video. 90% of children ages 8 to 16 have viewed pornography at least once on the internet. 100% of teenagers and high school students who were surveyed, even if they hadn't seen or even had not accidentally stumbled upon these sites, knew what internet pornography was. So they knew what it was, even if they had not seen it. So that tells you what a pervasive part of our culture this stuff probably is. And again, is that a problem? Again, something that we can debate. Now, some general facts. If you don't believe that internet pornography is a big deal, again, regardless of your opinion on whether you think it's a problem or not, it is a huge deal. It's big business. There's a lot of money involved, and there are a lot of people watching it, both underage and of the appropriate age. We'll go back to 2006. Worldwide revenue for pornography in 2006 was $97.6 billion. That's a B, billion dollars. Estimates closer to today have that at well over $100 billion annual worldwide revenue. So you can imagine that the if you will, the producers and actors and actresses, if we want to say that, in this industry some of them are making just as much money as movie stars, the people that you go see movies like at the movie theater in today. You wouldn't really think about that because they're not as, let's just say they're not as publicized. In the U.S., revenue for pornography in 2006 was $13 billion. If you fast forward that to closer to today, those estimates are probably closer to $20 billion. And this is in a society right now where a lot of people can go online and access internet pornography for virtually nothing. So there's still that much money being generated by this industry. That's a lot of money. And is it a problem? Again, you guys get to think about that and decide for yourselves. Here's some more perspective on this stuff. For every second in the United States, $3,075.64 is being spent on pornography. That's every second. In the amount of time it takes me to say second, you have 28,258 internet viewers viewing pornography. In the amount of time it takes me to say wow, you have 373 adult internet users typing adult search terms into search engines online. Every 39 minutes in the United States, if you think about if we sit in class for, 45 minutes, every 39 minutes in the U.S. a new pornographic video is produced. So every time we sit in class at Sissonville High School, a new pornographic video has been produced and is available for consumption. And I'm going to skip through some of these here. A lot of this is stuff that I really don't want to deal with at this point. So, again, we can ask ourselves again, is this a problem? We know that the ease of access is there. We can make arguments that children and adolescents have always been able to access this stuff from the beginning of time. And while that may be true, it's certainly easier to access it today. So from a psychological standpoint, and maybe a sociological standpoint to some extent, we're asking, what are the effects of pornography on children? And if we were in class, I would set aside some time. I would ask each of these questions. I would have you respond to that. What do you think the effects of pornography, and specifically internet pornography, are on children? I've dealt with juveniles in the correctional system, being a prison psychologist. I've dealt with adults in prisons who were children once and were exposed to this stuff. And it can impact them. Honestly, some children can view these materials and it really doesn't affect them from a developmental standpoint. They still have healthy relationships, sexually and otherwise, with people. They have healthy relationships with other people like adults. And they have really no problems to speak of because of their access to and their exposure to internet pornography. However, there are plenty of children who have suffered adverse effects from being exposed to pornography on the internet. I've talked to a lot of young men who told me from an early age when they were exposed, whether purposely or otherwise, to this stuff online, it put images in their heads about what relationships were supposed to be like. And I'm not going to get graphic here, but a lot of the pornographic depictions that you will see or could see don't exactly portray men and women in healthy relationships or healthy situations. Let's just say it that way. And they grow up thinking this is normal. This is the way I'm supposed to relate to other people. And it gets them into trouble. It causes problems with relationships. We could talk about, relationship infidelity, those kinds of issues. So it can, for some, create problems. For men, what kind of effects does it have on grown men? Well, I've seen marriages dissolve over internet pornography. I've done therapy with men who were, using their words, addicted to pornography to the point where they just really it destroyed their marriages. I had a guy who was so upset with himself, he took a sledgehammer as a symbolic, gesture, and destroyed his laptop with it because he was so addicted to pornography. And his wife caught him, and it almost caused a divorce in his situation. And it just, it can create real problems, and it sets up expectations for men and for women about what appropriate roles are or are not. Women are often, seen as subservient in pornographic videos. They're often they're portrayed in ways that they are serving men and subservient to men, and it can create ideas for women as well of what their role should be. And a lot of these roles are very unhealthy roles. And what does it do for society? Well, we could just go back to the dollar signs. $100 billion, over $100 billion revenue from this industry every year. And the United States is the leading consumer of internet pornography compared to any other country. I didn't say that earlier, but that is true. So what kind of effects does that have on, not just on children, men, and women, but on society at large? And again, these are questions we could kind of go back and forth with. I've seen it create mental health problems. This is a psychology class, so I could speak to that. I've seen it create anxiety. I've seen it create depression in children, men, women, all the above. I've seen eating disorders come about because of this. I've seen relationships dissolve, and it creates problems for the rest of the family who may or may not have ever had any exposure to internet pornography. So it can create some real problems, and I would ask you to kind of think about this and contemplate, and maybe jot down, this is not an assignment, but maybe write down a few notes yourself on what you think the negative effects of pornography are on children, men, women, and society, if you think there are any. Or if you don't think there are any negative effects, then jot down a few notes there too, because I may ask you to discuss this or to write about it at some point on an assignment or a test. So, okay. And I appreciate our mature handling of this topic, and we'll call this the end of part B of this lecture. Thank you.